Hey everybody, Peter Soros here with realestateskills.com. Today I'm going to share an interview I did with one of our students in Massachusetts. Daniel moved to America when he was 30 years old, didn't speak any English, but he ended up working his way up the corporate ladder, had a decent job, was making pretty good money, but he was working long hours away from the family, just not in control of his time. He knew he had to make a change and he decided to get into real estate and construction. So he's actually been fixing and flipping for over a decade. So he came to real estate skills with a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of knowledge, which he shares in this interview I did with him. He also shares a recent fix and flip he just closed on this month. I'd love for you to check out this story and hear what Daniel has to say. So let's dive right into it. All right. Hey, Daniel, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good, P. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited to have this call with you. You recently had a sale of one of your fix and flips, so we're gonna dive into that a little bit. But as always, we always like to learn a little bit more about you. So, just to start off, I'd like to know where did you start off from? Because I know you have experience in real estate and doing some fix and flips already before you joined Real Estate Skills. Tell us about you also told me you're gonna be going back home to Portugal, right, for a whole month next month.
Yes, Portugal
Yeah,
and
so
Cape Verde. Yeah.
perfect. So yeah, tell us a little bit about like where you came from, your background, what you used to do before real estate, and then what made you get into real estate, and then we can kind of just dive into more deeper topics like that.
Well, I am an immigrant. I came to the United States. I was 30 years old and not speaking English, didn't know anything about anything, like everybody else. I started in corporate America and I worked for 19 years, but the vision is to one day get, on my own and do something, But, it's a struggle when at the age of 30 years old, you don't speak any language or anything. It takes a while. It's a lot of effort that you have to put into it to learn the language and then go do everything else. So 3 years later, I was paying rent for $150 a month, and I said, "Well, what about if I buy a house and then instead of me paying rent, somebody pays me rent if I buy a duplex or something like that?" So that happened 3 years and a half later. Still to these days, people ask me, "How did you qualify for the loan all on yourself?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. How? Don't ask me. I just qualified." So I got into real estate. So I bought my house. I was, getting rent paid and paying my mortgage and stuff like that. So I worked for corporate America for 19 years.
What were you doing in corporate America? Just
I
curious.
was in a food chain, supermarket companies, and I was in a distribution center. I ended up getting promoted, and I was in management at one point. And after 19 years, I decided to start a small construction business. And then going into this house, fixing this house and things like that. And I had a crew, right? And I was like, what about if I start buying this house and fix them up myself and sell them? But I didn't know how to buy. I knew how to fix, but I didn't know how to buy.
Did you have a construction background?
I didn't have construction background. I was just a handy guy.
Okay.
But I said, well, if I go on my own, I hire a couple people, we should be able to do it. So one night I was sitting home watching TV, and this infomercial about real estate, flip this house, came on with Armando Montalongo. I don't know if you know Armando Montalongo, but I said, well, that's interesting. I decided to go to workshops. Went to workshops, then we went to training in the California and San Antonio, Texas, and I came back and I said, you know what, I'm going to flip houses. Then I start flipping houses. You know, did it all on my own. I'm still on my own flipping houses. So, but from I started in late 2012. Like my first purchase was actually October of 2012, and it took me 4 months to between buying, fixing, and selling. 4 months I flipped the house. It was scary, but I didn't. I knew how to get hard money, but I didn't have any private money lenders for gap funding. So I have to spend like $72,000 of my own money to gap fund my deal. It was scary, but I ended up
Yeah.
doing it and I made some money. I said, oh, this is interesting. I think I can continue to do it. So I kept doing it. from there to today, I did probably about 100 real estate transactions. And
Wow,
I'm doing
nice.
it to these days, Never looked back.
Nice, nice. So what made you want to, you just wanted to make that shift because you notice you're paying rent to someone else. Like, what if I just get that rent sent to me instead? Was there any other kind of big shift? Was it like, it seemed like you were doing okay at your job, making decent money and all that. What else was there? Was it like time constraints, didn't see your family as much because of the corporate America? Was there any other kind of push to make you want to go into real estate and leave corporate America?
I was doing well. I was getting paid well, but it was a very stressful job.
Hmm.
And I was like, you have to be there when they want you to be there. You don't come home if there is things to do and they don't want you to come home. And at one point, they build a state of the art warehouse, and I was there for sometimes 16 hours a day, adjusting all the equipment and the warehouse and the way that things run the warehouse and everything else. And I was like, this is not a life. I couldn't see my family. I couldn't do anything else but work. And at that time I decided, I said, you know what, I think I have to make the shift. I have to do something else. So I'm not living this life for the rest of my life. So that's actually what made me make the shift.
Got it. So it was more like a lifestyle change than specifically, money itself. For some people, it's like they just need to make more money. Seem like, yeah, you could have had a comfortable job, but like you said, it was stressful and you don't really get to enjoy your life. You feel a bit like a slave that way, I bet. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So glad to hear you were able to make that move and get out. I assume a lot of things changed for you once you started getting into real estate. How long until, like, how many deals did you have to do before you were able to just leave corporate America?
I just left. I mean, when I decided to start the handyman business, because the first thing that I started is a small construction business.
Got it. Okay.
I decided to leave it, and my upper management actually, I don't know if I should say they like me, but they like my job.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, they said, no, just go do your business, but keep working. And I said, well, you know what? If I'm giving this company 110%, I wanted to give my business 150%.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had this human resource lady that actually pulled me in her office one day, and she says, you know what? This company is here for you anytime you wanted to come back. And she says, if you want to really go do your business, go try. If it doesn't work, you can always come back. We are here to take you. I said, okay,
That's
well,
great.
yeah.
That's
And
nice.
and I made the
That's
shift. I never looked back though, but that was very
nice.
encouraging, actually.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's good to feel a little bit of like a little safety net that's still there for you just in case. But it sounded like you burned the ships. This is what I'm doing. So that's what it takes sometimes. So you said that was in 2012. So you've done, you said, hundreds of transactions or up to 100 transactions since then. So what led you to come to real estate skills at that point then? It sounds like, you've had a lot of experience. What made you interested in real estate skills out of all the other programs and training out there? What led you to actually, become a student with us?
I've been through a lot of real estate programs. To be honest with you, I spent a lot of money into learning real estate. I'm still spending money. And then when I heard about real estate skills, it was like interesting to me because most of the people that talk about real estate, they talk about going off market.
Hmm.
And real estate skills actually says, go after MLS, the on market deals. And that's what I've been doing. I never bought, off market properties. I just go off MLS. I said, well, maybe there is a better way for me to go after these MLS listings and do better than I am doing.
Hmm.
I mean, I never call I never went direct to agent or anything, but with my buyer's agent, now I work with them better, and I have this calculator, the real estate skills calculator that actually helps me because I used to do it all in pen and paper on the back of the envelope. That's what I used to do. But now with this real estate skills calculator, I use it. It helps me much better when I, to vet my deals and to do my numbers and stuff, because you plug those numbers, it comes right back and tells you exactly what you're going to make and everything.
And it's been pretty accurate, you've been finding?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
works very
That's
well.
great. Yeah, that's great to hear from someone who's experienced in, in the field to kind of just validate. I mean, we know it works. I've used it for my own deals, my very first deal. So it's always great to hear that from someone else who's already done deals beforehand. So that's great to hear. Yeah. Anything else? So there was a calculator that we do on market. You were doing on market. Anything else that's kind of stood out? Because you're always on the calls. I always love having on the calls. It's always great to hear what you're working on. Always a pleasure to try to help you try to find comps and bounce some numbers across from each other. And we're always kind of, yep, that's how it goes. So how is that for you? Was that something you ever got in any of the other programs, kind of able to bring deals to people, bounce, potential deals back and forth with like a coach and see, hey, what do you think of these numbers? Does it make sense? Or what do you think? Like, just curious about that as well.
Now, the other programs that I was involved in, they basically don't, there is no community. I mean, real estate skills is a community. It's not just a program that you go and you learn it, you come, and then you implement it. You have to do it on your own. So, real estate skills is a community. Even if I am on the calls, for example, I'm listening to these new investors. They need to learn things, but they come up with questions that then when you answering their questions, I'm learning a lot of things. So and I think it's a good way to help the community also, because I have some experience with real estate, and then you ask me a question and I'm giving ideas out there. I'm putting ideas out there. I'm not charging for my ideas. I know what I know, and I like for other people to know. And I feel great helping people, and I feel even greater when I'm learning from people. I'm listening to you. I listened to Mike when he was on the call, and to the other guy, what's his name?
Ryan.
Ryan. I don't listen to Ryan that much, but the other kid that was on the call before, from Texas, what's his name? I don't remember.
Oh, Colin. It was
Colin,
Colin.
Colin.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of learning experience. That's why I like to be on these calls, because you learn a lot. The community is great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we love it, and that's one of the big, aspects, like, I'm in there all the time, and it really, like you say, it creates a community, it's a living, breathing thing. You see people's growth, you see when they, are frustrated, and then you're there to kinda help them, and it's always great to have people like you have this, a lot of experience, and then when they hear people like you talk too, within the community, it sends it I can see and hear the lights go on in people's heads like, oh, okay, like, you know Peter isn't just saying things just to say things. Alex isn't just saying things to say things. Like, it's actually like that in the real world, from people who have been doing those things. So it's always great to get your input and feedback. And I know everybody else appreciates it. And that's why I wanted to do this call, so people could really get to know more about you, how you started, and really, what's the future? What's the next plan? What's the next steps? I know you're always working on something. Even when you close a deal, you're already looking at the next deal, which is great. So there's always something to work at. So actually, let's jump into the deal that you did. I have it up here. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Auburn, Massachusetts, 2,286 square feet. What did you get this under contract for? And then how did you get it under contract? Tell us the story about this property.
This property actually is, I attend the real estate meetup. Then I got to meet this kid, this 18, 19-year-old kid that is actually, he buys and holds. Very young kid. And he has a few properties. So we start having conversation. Actually, he wanted to me to kind of mentor him. So he invited me to a dinner. We went to a restaurant to the dinner, and we spoke for a little while. We kept speaking. So he got this call from a wholesaling company about this house. And then he called me. He was not in a position to buy a fix and flip. He buys multi-families. So he called me up and he says, Danny, this real estate company, this wholesaling company called me about this house, but I'm not in a position to buy it. I'm just calling you to see if you want to buy it. I said, I never bought a house from wholesaler, bro. I'll give it a try, give it a shot. So called them. I went to see the property. There was another couple there seeing the property, and I said, okay, well, I put an offer on it, and I think the starting was 425 or 423, something like that. I came back. I offered them 425, and they pushed me. They pushed me. They pushed me like we went back and forth for like a week or so. And I said, you know what? I'll tell you guys. Me, I am a real estate investor, and when I come up with my number, I give it to you. There is no negotiation. That's my final, my best offer. You take it or you leave it. And he says, oh, well, there is somebody else that wanted to pay more. I said, then take it. If somebody wants to pay more than I'm offering you, then take it. You don't have to come back to me. Just take it. So a few days later, the guy called me. He says, I guess you get the offer. If you're gonna buy it, you get it. I said, okay, I'm buying it. But there is a lot of things, a lot of fees. If you don't close on the time, they charge you fees, which I did not know. And there is a lot of things that when you buy a house from a wholesaler, not all the wholesalers are the same. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't like do their due diligence to make sure that everything that should be paid is paid, so those late payments does not come back on the end buyers. And I end up with a lot of those water payment and things like that the seller, it was a probate sale as well. So the deceased person did not really pay everything that he was supposed to pay, so there was an attorney that was representing the seller, so he didn't really care about paying those things. So I end up paying those things, but it worked. I mean, it's a deal that it didn't work, you know, for the way that I like the deals to work. I didn't make as much money as I would have liked to make on a deal, because I mean, I like to make at least $50,000 on a deal. You know what I mean? I didn't make that much, but I didn't lose money. I didn't break even. Yeah, break even either. I made some money. I mean, if the way that I look at it is that I mean, I made $40,000 on this deal. The way that I look at it is that, okay, well, if I do one deal like this per month, you know, I'm making some money. You know what I mean? The thing is, you don't find deals to do like one like this every month. And sometimes you got to do a good deal, a deal that's going to bring you a triple digit profit in order to make it. But any deal that you make some money, it's a deal, because if you don't take it, somebody else is going to take it, and somebody else is going to make their money.
Yeah, it's still cash in. It's still cash flow feeding your business. Some of the big fix and flippers, they have employees. They got to keep feeding the machine. They need to do whatever deals that are going to make money a lot of times. So, I mean, it still sounds like a really great return. And like you said, you do one of those a month, like what is that? Like less than 1% of the whole country, you could say, for your earnings. So it's still not bad, not a bad place to be. And then sure, you have projects you're managing, there's a lot of work, but you're still in control of your time this way with your lifestyle, which is what you wanted. So that's a price that's hard to put. Like, what's the price for that, for your lifestyle, for your freedom to do what you want? That's the other part. So you ended up getting it for, was it 425 was your final offer, and that's what you got it for?
It was 425 was my final offer. Actually, my acquisition cost, that includes everything on this deal, was 505 343. So then at the end, I had the holding cost about 22,000, and the closing cost was about 39,000. That's everything, like paying the realtors commission and the interest and everything else. I held this house for a little less than 6 months. you know I sold it for 605. So my all my expense was 567, and I sold it for 605. 37,000, but I have some money coming back to me from the interest that I paid early before I closed, and the insurance is returning some money, about $1,000, $2,000, and I end up cashing $40,000 on the deal.
Nice, nice. And you used hard money. Was that correct? You used hard money?
I did use hard money. I use hard money and my money. Actually, I put on about $105,000 on my own money, of my own money, into this deal.
All right. So got it for 425 after all the closing costs. You said you were a little over 500 and
505.
505. Yep. And then you ended up closing, selling it for 605. How long was it on the market for when it got accepted?
It was on the market for a little over a month. I think we listed it maybe
Yeah.
late
Yeah.
April, and it sold in June, like June 7th.
Yeah, I'm seeing here April 17th, you had it listed for 595 and it actually went contingent May 1st. So just a couple weeks it went under contract and then it closed June 5th for 605. So
It was not bad.
not bad. Not bad at
I
all.
mean, I could do it faster. I could do it faster, but I didn't want to really put the property in market in the winter.
Correct.
And I was kind of dragging a little bit to make that time to put it on market, um, in spring.
All right, and then I know you've got another one you're acquiring right now, so we're just waiting to hear that final word that you got another one to be working on, and then I know you've got some more. You went to go look at another one yesterday, I think it was after the call, or you were going to go look at one today.
Wednesday,
Wednesday. Okay.
Wednesday. I did went to look one today too. I'm always looking. I mean, it's everyday thing.
Yeah. Do you have like a ceiling of how much what your budget is? Like I can only do maybe like one a month, or if you could get two, three, four a month, do you have a limit that you can handle?
No, no. Actually, back in 2018, I bought five at once. There was a struggle though. I mean, it was a struggle because I didn't have a crew to do all the five at the same time. So I had to use the same crew to bounce back and forth. It was not easy. And then I said, you know what? I'm not gonna buy five at once again. But sometimes the opportunity comes. Sometimes you take a month, 2 months, you don't get any deal, and then all of a sudden you're getting three, four, five at the same
It's a
time.
roller coaster.
And I'm
Yep.
putting offers every day.
Mhm.
So I put offers every day, and they sit on those offers. Sometimes I go back and forth, and the strategy that I use is that, okay, we're gonna lowball this offer. If they don't take it, but the property does not sell for a couple weeks, a month, or something, we're gonna submit the same offer again, the same amount.
Mhm.
Keep doing it the same amount. And sometimes those houses sit on the market, they don't sell them, and then all of a sudden they calling you back and they saying, "Hey, you still wanted the house?" "Oh, of course I want it." And then you're getting two, three deals at the same time.
I'm so glad you're saying this because it comes up often so much with the students. And this is what happens when, the seasoned investors, they know how it goes. A lot of times it's overpriced. They have to come to the realization, okay, this is actually what it's worth. We're all getting basically the same offers. Let's go to the one who was on it from the beginning. They'll give you the call and then boom, you get an offer, you get your offer accepted. But that's the other key thing is you're always submitting offers. Basically, you said almost every day you're submitting an offer. And that's again one of the big things we always say, like you have to be submitting offers. If you're not submitting offers, you're never gonna get anywhere. So that's just basically it. Keep that machine going. So all the fundamentals, what you're doing, and it's hard for some people to realize that it's that simple, basically. It's that simple to just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then you just execute when those things get accepted. So I'm so glad you share that, so everyone else can hear it from someone else besides just us. So
Yeah, and it's not complicated to submit offers, because if you don't want to submit offers yourself, so you work with the realtors, and that's what they do. You tell them, okay, submit this offer, and they have the fiduciary duty to submit the offers for you. If you tell them submit this offer, And if they really wanted to work with you, I mean, if you are a good investor, the real estate agents really wanted to work with you, because imagine the way that I work with my realtors is that, okay, you get to do two transactions. You get to make money twice, because if you work with me, you bring me a property for me to buy. You making money when you buy, and then when it's time to sell, I'm giving it back to you. You're gonna list it and you're gonna make money again. So they have the interest of submitting the offers to you. I mean, you get the property, they take you to see the property, and then you put the offer. They write the offer for you.
Absolutely. Give them the incentive. Money talks. Yeah, they get paid when deals close. So those are one of the reasons why we always say, work with agents. We hear it all the time. These investors, cash buyers, they don't work with agents. They don't want to work with agents. Like, okay, but you might be missing out on deals. You're missing out also on leveraging somebody else to work for you. Basically, works for you for free until they close the deal. Like, take advantage of that. That's what they're there for.
I mean, I talk about my real this. I mean, I have probably 10 realtors that I'm working with right now. They all bring me deals, and we all go see properties, and they all write the offers for me. But I have this particular one that is great, and I'll tell you, I put everything in her hands. She communicates with the attorney. She needs anything, she calls me and she says, Danny, we need this thing. I'm going to, send it to me. I'm going to send it to the attorney. And all the questions that the attorney has, or anybody, or the other brokerage have, she's the one who answers all. She helps you do the design. On Wednesday, we were at the house and she says, I want this done this way. I want that done that way. And we cannot spend, we were the contract. And the contract is suggesting, oh, we do this way. She goes, okay, that's fine. We can do it that way, but you have to keep the cost down. You cannot charge any more than that we think this thing costs. If you want to do it better, you can do it better, but you cannot charge more. I'm going on a vacation. She's staying and running. If we close before I leave, I told the attorney, I said, let's try to close this deal before I leave, so I can leave these people working. My subcontractors working, and Laura, she will be here with these guys, and picking some stuff that they need, or helping them with the designs and the renovation and things like that. So hopefully, when I come back in a month, half of this thing is will be done. So yeah, you have to leverage other people to help you do these things. I mean, it's a lot to do. If you're fixing and flipping, there's a lot to do. So you have to leverage, other people's experience to help you.
Yeah, you need to have a team eventually. And, the question is, where do you find this team? You go on market. I mean, I'm sure you made connections with these agents because the deals were on market. So when we say on market, a lot of times too, it's just the connections that you can make from on dealing on market. Other students have closed deals, done their first deals because they found an agent on a previous deal they offered. They didn't get it, but then that agent brought them a deal and then they closed on their first deal. So people are missing out on so much potential just because they're afraid to go on market or not want to work with agents. So I'm glad that you share that because you're just missing out on a lot. The sophisticated cash buyers, investors are not gonna not look, and have blinders on for the big market. Like that's where most sales are done is on market. There's so many connections to make there. So I'm glad you shared that. Yeah. I wanted to ask you real quick. You do mostly fix and flips, but you do hold, right? You do some buy and hold sometimes. You have long term, or do you do like short term rentals? I know you do a mix of things. Tell me a little bit more about that, and what makes you decide to do something as a hold as a rental, or just fix it and flip it and sell it.
Well, when I have these multifamily, which is a duplex. It was my primary residence. It's a house that I bought in 3 years. When I that thing was very lucrative uh, house, because I rent it out and I made money. Never like intent of like, I'm doing it for business. I'm doing it just to make some money. And then when I start flipping, I held this house that I was gonna flip. I got divorced, and I said, I'm not living in this duplex anymore. I have this fix and flip, this single family home. I'm gonna fix it nice, and I'm gonna move to it. Then I keep that one, multifamily is a strict rental. So made pretty good money. And then I this house that I'm sitting in right now, it was meant to be a fix and flip. It was a small house in a one and a half acre of land with a big two-car garage, detached two-car garage. And the vision was like, well, I buy this house, I can you know, add to the house, make it like a bigger house, and flip it for more money. And the same vision that I have, whoever is going to buy the house will see that two-car garage, detached two-car garage, like a possibility to build something in the future. So things went wrong with this house. When I started to demo the house actually would not stand demolition. The whole thing came down. So I said, oh crap, now I have to build a new house. Now, I overspend on this house. I said, well, now I cannot sell this house because if I sell it, I lose money. Now I said, well, what do I do? And one day I was driving to another house that I was flipping, and I was listening to podcast. I think I was on the Bigger Pocket podcast, and this guy Jesse Vasquez came over talking about the midterm rentals. I heard about the short term and everything else, but I heard a lot of short term is a lot of work, da, 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 and I heard about this midterm rental. I said, that's interesting. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to move to this new house, and I'm going to try to midterm rental my house, my single family home. And I did it. So I held the house. The house is paying very well, twice as much as the long term rental rate. And I have the house rent to midterm to traveling professionals. Like my first tenants was the three nurses. They stayed there for 3 months, and then I got insurance contract for another family that the house were flooded. You know, they moved to my house. Initially, it was for 90 days. They end up staying there for 6 months. I think they just moved out yesterday, and I have another insurance contract coming in. So now I'm thinking that I'm going to be holding some houses and do midterm rental because you don't have much work on midterm rentals. I mean, they take in this house like it's their own house, and they don't beat up the house or anything, and they hardly call you. I mean, for the I think the 9 months that I have that house rented, I think I had only one call. One sink faucet there was leaking a little bit, and the tenant called me and she says, I don't want your cabinet to be ruined, so I wanted to let you know about this leak here. I said, oh, don't worry, I'll fix it. And I went fixed it, and that's it. So I never heard from them, and I said, you know what, I think it's good because especially if you get in contracts from like these traveling professionals. Nurses, for example, they spend most of the time in the hospital, most of the time working. When they come home, they just go to sleep. They yeah, I mean, yeah, now I think if I get a problem, well, you have to make sure that the property that you're going to hold is a property that's going to cash flow. Because I mean, if the you got to do your math. If it's not going to cash flow, it does not make sense holding it. If you're making a little bit of money, flipping it, you just flip it. It's like, for example, this house that I'm buying right now. I went on Airbnb and I did the what's the monthly rate for that house that I'm buying in that area. The daily rate on a short-term rental is $509 per day. Yeah, it's a coastal community. And I said, well, there is possibilities. When you buy a house, you have to think about your exit strategy. What's if one thing doesn't work, you have to make it work another way. Okay, you have to take, to think about it. So this house, for example, when I buy it, I mean, it's gonna bring me, if I flip it, it's gonna bring me probably $200,000 in profit or more. And I'm thinking about doing it in not more than 6 months. I should be able to flip it in 6 months. But if I decide to keep it, for example, if I can do short-term rental and mid-term rental, the mix of the two, I know it's going to rent short term in summertime. In the winter, maybe not, but I can do midterm rental in the winter. And then it's There is enough land for me to improve the house and build on the land, put another house in it. If short-term rental is working well with mid-term rental, I can, add to the house, make another, do another apartment attached to the house or detached to the house or whatever. Because now in Massachusetts we can build ADUs.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's great that this is one of the most important things for investors is to have multiple exit strategies, whether it's buy and holding or fixing and flipping or wholesaling. And then as you found out, there's short-term rentals, there's long-term rentals, there's mid-term rentals, there's all these other things. And then you can even get more creative. You can, if there's more land, you can build something. The creativity and the openness of what you can do, the more like you didn't know about midterm, you have to just keep learning. We're always learning. That's Alex, Ryan, we're all always learning. And you even been doing this for a while now, you're always learning. And the more you do that, the more options you have, the more creative you can be. And not only that, you're actually helping people in your community. You had those people who had a flooded house. Now they had somewhere to go to. These nurses who are working lots of hours, they have somewhere because they're traveling and they need somewhere to just, have somewhere to go rest sometimes. It's all these little things that sometimes get overlooked when we're, just focusing on the numbers. We forget what kind of impact it actually has in the community and in people's real lives. So that's one of the greatest things that as investors we have to remember is the actual positive impact we can have by being smart with our numbers, but being creative and having multiple exit strategies. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's very huge.
Yeah, even in the course of doing it, imagine how many people make money with you. You have agents, you have contracts, you have lawyers, you have all these people that make money because you risking your time or your money or whatever to do these flips. But there is a lot of people involved, and a lot of people tell me, "Don't you see that fixing and flipping houses is a lot of work?" I said, "Well, you know what make me happy is how many people that I'm impacting, positively impacting their lives when I'm doing these things. I'm taking a risk. I know I'm taking a risk. It's easy to lose money, but it's okay. So I make sure I don't lose it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to look at it. And I think it's an outlook we all need to constantly be reminded about when we do it. We're taking these risks. And I tell to the students all the time, remember, your cash buyer is the one who's taking up really all the risk. So make the deals work for them. Like it's like an agent is doing the best they can and taking care of their client, the seller. You need to be almost like an agent for your cash buyer. You need to make sure, like you said, do the due diligence so we know what we're getting into. Give it to us on a platinum platter, like we say in the training, because and like you say, like you taking the risk keeps the local economy going. You're feeding helping other people feed their families, all because you are deciding to take the risk. you know Sometimes people say, oh, but you're not doing the work. Well, someone's got to pay everybody, someone's got to take the risk and put up the money. It takes all these different pieces to put it together and make it happen. So sometimes investors get a bad name because they think we're just money hungry sharks, and that's not really the case. The majority are not. Are there some bad players out there? Of course, in every industry, even medicine or politics, whatever, right? But here we can make a positive impact in our own communities, and we can actually see it because we shake hands with those people. We see the people living in those houses and things like that. So it's so much more than just making a ton of money, but that's not bad to make a ton of
No,
money
it's not
either, I
bad.
would
I
say.
mean, when you make money, you feel great also,
Yep.
making impact in the people's lives, but also making impact in your life.
Absolutely, and your family's lives. And like that was the video that Alex made with me for my first video, for my first deal that I made. Like it changed my life, it changed my son's life and our future, and from now on. So there's so many things you can't account for right at that moment. It'll kind of show the dividends later on. um, so yeah, that kind of brings me kind of like to the last question here is, what advice would you have for some students? Actually, before that, what's the plan? What's the future look like for Daniel right now? I mean, doing the same thing right now of just more fix and flip deals, buy and holds. Is there anything else you're working on, or Just let us know what you're working on at the moment and in the future, long term.
Well, in the next 5 to 10 years, I wanted to actually hold some properties. You know, it's gonna come to a point which I'm gonna probably get tired of doing fix and flip with all this work that I have to do. But I have a son with me that's interested in learning, and I can get him to learn some things. But if I can get enough properties that's paying me uh, to live, which I'm still making impact, and I know people will come to my properties and they wanted to live in my properties. That's the goal, to hold these properties to make me enough money so I don't have to worry much about things. But I like to be still involved in the real estate community, and if anybody needs my advice, I'll be open to give out advice in the community, like a real estate skills community. I'll be there to help, because I mean, I love to share what I know with other people. I don't care about making money to share, but I can share for free, because what I learned, I'm not you know selfish guy. I like to for other people to know there is enough for everybody. That's why I tell people, what, you cannot do it all by yourself. There is enough for everybody. Don't be afraid to you know teach other people what you know, because there is enough. And I like to be in this community to continue to help.
Awesome, awesome. And then the last question. So you kind of shared a little bit, but like any last advice for either people who are thinking about getting into, let's just say, real estate in general, or people considering maybe real estate skills. What kind of advice would you give to people maybe on the fence about either going into real estate, or also is real estate skills maybe the right path for them to start getting their education?
Well, you know what? Don't hesitate, because you're not gonna learn on your own. I mean, there is a lot of YouTube videos out there, but you're not going to learn on YouTube. I mean, you have to plug in the community, like real estate skills, where you hear people like someone like me that's been doing it for a while talking about what I do, how I do it. Put things in the perspective, so you learn things. And the real estate skills is a good community. To be honest with you, I'm not in real estate skills as much as I should be, because the time, you know what I mean. That's why I like to be on these calls like twice a week, because I hear, instead of me going into the community and plugging and keep reading what people are posting in the community. I don't have much time for that. But in the calls, I am hearing people and I'm learning and I'm sharing my thoughts. Don't procrastinate, because the procrastination is what keep people from doing things. You think about it and you think about it and you think about it, but you're not plugging, you know, to the community that's going to teach you, that's going to help you actually get to that point of doing it. And you got to do it. I mean, if you keep thinking about doing it and don't do it, you're not doing anything. You got to do. Cannot be perfect, because some people they wait to be perfect before they start doing things. There is no such thing as I got to be perfect. If you're not doing it, you're not perfecting yourself. You got to do it. My advice to everybody that wanted to get into real estate, whether it is real estate skills or other community, that actually community. I'm not, saying coaching these things or real estate education, like a lot of is it's the community. Because me, if it was for real estate education, I could done it much better. But it's the community now that I'm plugging into the community that's helping me a lot more. You got to plug into the community. And I like real estate skills, because I mean, this course that you guys do twice a week, and you have these posts that you do in the community. If you have any doubt about anything, I can post there and you guys answer and you educate people. And it's great. It's a great community to be in.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely want to provide as much service as possible, as much support, because we know it's scary. We're getting into something, especially when you have no background into it. Like me, I had no real estate background. I had just gotten my license. I didn't really want to be an agent, and it's scary. It's scary for a lot of people, but having some support, having some extra eyeballs, looking at some deals, and running by some other people, like actual real people, it really helps to make you feel like you're not just doing this alone, and that something bad is going to happen. You start to realize, oh, okay, it's going to be a lot of work, but it's actually not that bad, as like I'm not going to get sued. I have to really do something stupid and wrong and not be paying attention for something really bad to happen. And you start to realize, okay, I can do this over and over and over again. And sometimes you just need to hear it from somebody else sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, it was a pleasure finally talking to you like this and hearing your story. I know everyone else is gonna, waiting on pins and needles to get this out so they can hear your story, and let us know when the next deal closes. I know it's hopefully it closes before you go on vacation. Wish you a great vacation and enjoy yourself. If we don't talk again before then. But again, thanks for coming on. Appreciate everything you do in the community, all the wisdom and the knowledge you share. It's very, very much appreciated. Alex and Ryan, we all see it in the community, so we all appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Daniel. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
All right. All right. Have a good one.
And there you have it. Daniel's story is very inspiring on many levels. But one of the levels which I'm really glad we touched on this call is the way that being an investor can actually influence your community and have an impact on people's lives in your community. As you heard, there were people who had insurance claims that they lost their house to a flood, and he was actually able to provide housing for people in those kind of situations, and it just worked out perfectly. So it ends up becoming more than just making a lot of money, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, and we want to do with that. It definitely makes life a bit easier, when you have that money and that freedom also for your time and your lifestyle, which is also what Daniel was looking for and was able to achieve that with real estate. But it can create a much deeper meaning and purpose when you can actually see what you're doing in your community. Not only that, by him taking those risks of doing these fix and flip deals, he's actually employing people in the community. His risk, his deals are allowing other people to actually feed their families. Agents, title agents, escrow companies, attorneys, then you've got the contractors, you've got appraisers, you've got inspectors. All of these different people that are involved in real estate actually have work to do. They're actually making money. They're providing for their families and providing a service to their community. And it all really kind of comes back to that investor who's willing to take that risk, right? Because yes, the sellers have a home that needs work, but they're in a tight spot, and someone has to kind of come in and be willing to take on that risk. And that's where investors can come in and do that and have a big impact on their community and all the people who live in that community as well. So that's one of the levels I'm really glad we touched on, because it's an often overlooked aspect of being an investor. So thanks for watching this till the end. If you guys have any questions about the Real Estate Skills community, head on over to realestateskills.com and get in touch with us. Till next time, take care.